Hey, nice to meet you. My name is Wilfredo. I just recently moved to Providence. I went to UConn and studied child development and social welfare policy. I'm thinking about going to the Rhode Island College and studying, get my MSW, and then maybe, who knows, maybe some clinical psychology stuff to get my doctorate. Anyways, I met an interesting person today. She's a teacher. I used to be a substitute teacher in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I used to be an after school teacher in New Haven, Connecticut. So all these are both magnet schools, and I've been doing this whole like program development, child development, youth empowerment, um, team building, and all that stuff for about since like 2007, I think 2005. So it's 2017. So about like a decade, pretty much. And anyways, we were talking today, and she mentioned that she's gonna bring in some goods to school. I think it was candy, and she was gonna build teams, and the candy was gonna be the prize. And I thought that was awesome because a little bit, a little bit of something to sort of inspire someone to sort of get them back to focusing on like music or science or whatever it is. I think it's healthy. When even water is a little bit. If you drink too much water, it's not good for you, right? So even something as beautiful and as delicate as water, right? We need water on Mars in order to settle. Can be too much and catastrophic. So, anyways, candy or like something healthy can be healthy, although even too much health can be bad for your health. Anyways, everything in moderation. Like I was saying. So she was telling me how she was going to build some teams and sort of motivate them to learn. And I thought it would be really great if she took those who were sort of kind of who needed some help, who were sort of like anchoring at a certain level or who were averaging at a certain level, who needed the help. They could, it would be nice to sort of build a team that features this. So what I told her was like, hey, if you're teaching science, then if you have, some students who are really like math nerds, right? Because I like math, in science and statistics. If you have a bunch of nerds who are around like a bunch of like really intelligent, like geeky people who love, just like one subject, but they're still nerdy, but they're not like at the geek level yet, where it's just like you know everything or you love everything about the topic. What's really interesting is if you can sort of balance a strong team and make it even stronger by adding some of that social dynamic, some diversity to it, and sort of gather someone who knows a lot about something else and is still sort of exploring the idea of being introduced to a new topic. So all this to say, I was like, hey, why don't if all of your students, for example, are like B's or B plus students, and you have a few like maybe C plus students, why don't you find basically like in statistics, like make a box plot or like a bell curve or whatever it is. You can do this in Excel, right? And so just take all the numbers, all the ratios, all the data, average them together, right? So everybody who's getting 85, so you work together. Everyone's getting 90s, work together. Everyone who's getting like 81s, 82s, work together. Because when you have the averages and the IQ kind of working together with all that similarity, point of references might be easier to design so that young people who average 85 or 90, well, they have that mentality of okay, here are my ideas that on average are worth like 90s and 85s, and what's great about that is that when you build a team of 3 or 4 students who are averaging like 85 or 90s on their homework or their exams, and then you add someone who might have like a 78 or a 79 or even like an 81. What's really cool is that person who's getting an 80 or an 81 can learn from somebody who on average is who gets like an 85 or a 90, who's earning maybe 10 or 20% more towards their grades. And what's really cool about that, in my view, is that you're getting these fresh perspectives that work as an administrator, as a teacher, as a professor, as someone who is kind of guiding teams of like 20, 30, 40, or 50, 100, 200. It's important to stay relevant. And I'm going to leave you with this. It's important to stay relevant. And as professors, as teachers, I want to be a professor one day. You want to have the best material that's relevant because When you have something relevant, even if someone doesn't remember everything, it's sort of like going into Google and just remembering that one keyword, and there we go. You kind of remember everything because you sort of stumble from one idea to the next because you remember that one relevant thing. So all this to say, I recommend it if you're building a team where the average is like 85 or 90, why don't you mix up the dynamic a little bit? Find someone who has that 70 or 75 or 78. Bring them to that team that has like a 90 or 85. Let them learn from each other because they'll have all the relevant data. They'll have all the examples. You know, as administrators, professors, teachers, whatever it is, leaders, we don't know, you know, the example that they're going to need that's going to kind of keep them hooked, right? These students who are getting 90s and 85s, their point of reference, the music that they listen to, we might not be listening to that. So they might be able to say, hey, you know, this statistical sample or this something, this interesting, this history, this sociology, social science, whatever it is, this science, it's sort of like listening to, I don't know, like Jay-Z or whatever. Like, remember that one song, blah, 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 the album just dropped. You know, they'll have that reference. So someone who is getting like a 78 or an 80 or 82 or whatever it might be, you know, that this might be the defining moment for them where now math is all about, okay, how many, you know, 3x plus 5 is like, all right, what are my top 3 favorite Jay-Z albums plus my favorite 5 Beyonce albums? Or, you know what I mean? Like, it's this random data that is completely relevant that sometimes as facilitators, because we do so much, because there's so much research we have to, you know, partake in, we don't know all the answers sometimes, and our lifestyles designed to at least have at least a reference point, at least keep it relevant. So I was just saying, in order to make things simpler and easier and kind of more fun and keep things relevant, if you got a team where everybody has like an 80, I think it's important to add someone who has like go one standard deviation below, 2 standard deviations at most. And we know that from a bell curve, about 35%, like 34% is 1 standard deviation to the right, to the left. 68% is 34%. 68% is from above and below 1 standard deviation. So when you're building teams, try and do that. I always try and take like a fifth. It's like 20% in either direction, and then rebuild. You can do the whole 1 standard deviation because you're going to get a lot of data, although it is a deviation. There's a reason why 1 standard deviation is 34%. There's a significant boundary there. And there's another significant boundary at 2 standard deviations. And remember, at 1.99 infinity 9, keep infinity going, beyond that, it's not unreasonable, but it is a rare occurrence beyond 2 standard deviations. So all this to say, when you're designing teams, if you're going above 1 or 2 standard deviations, remember each standard deviation is sort of like a milestone. So if you can kind of get in the habit of halving things. So if you got like 30%, half of that, try and swing like 15 or 20% in either direction to sort of maintain a sense of quality control. That's really important. This is important because what you're doing now, let's say you're teaching, your baby, your toddler, your child, your nephew, your niece, cousin, someone. What's important is that what you teach them now, they're always going to build on. And if you could divide something into 5 pieces instead of 4 pieces, like with a baby, if you can divide something so it's easier to understand, like a work week, a 4-day work week, doing the same amount of hours, right? Same end sample population, same everything. If you're getting things done in 4 instead of 5, there's a clear difference when you're trying to build on difficult or just interesting. We'll call it interesting foundations, principles, traditions, and just ideas. When you gotta get creative, doing things in like 4s, 5s, and then doubling it, 8s and 10s, it's easier to manage. And there's a beautiful symmetry for something that's done in 5s and 10s and then things that are done in 4s and 8s. There is a beautiful symmetry, and we all know that, in nature, the strongest are usually symmetrical. And we can even look at just sort of like at biology and DNA and helix, formation and just looking at just regular world, Sometimes some people think that art or beauty is very symmetrical. So and there's a lot of data to support that. Just go on Netflix. Anyways, I'm Wilfredo. Follow me on Twitter. Let me know. Check out if it's real. I don't know yet. Soto.net or thinkaboutit.clinic. We'll see. Anyways, if you want to hear more, obviously you got to respond. So thank you for your time. I'm going to try and get these down to like 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes, 90 seconds. That way, if you want to use it and you want to share it, sometimes you don't have time to listen to everything. It's important to do that. So I'm going to try and get things done, especially like I read on the census.gov, like the average time to get to work is like 22 minutes. So at most, I'm going to try and make something that's like half that. And I'm almost at 11 minutes anyways. So happy holidays, because it is like a holiday season from what, like October to like February, basically, kind of, right? Anyways, I'm Wilfredo. Take care. Happy holidays, and good luck.